Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and we have arrived to the end of season 3 to HBO's House of the Dragon, the prequel to the Game of Thrones series and books that we enjoyed, at least partially enjoyed until that final season of Game of Thrones. But House of the Dragon is the prequel to all that. And last season wasn't the greatest. Season 2 left us wanting, or at least me. I'm just gonna speak for me. There may be some people that actually enjoyed season 2, and that's fine. I mean, season 2 wasn't horrible. It just wasn't, it wasn't as good as the first season. It definitely didn't live up to the Game of Thrones lore. But this season here blows season 2 out of the water. Season 3 follows the aftermath of the second season. And in that final episode where we saw a war known as Dance of the Dragons between Rhaenyra and her half-brother Aegon II. And this continues on, causing House Targaryen to become further divided. And so Aegon is supported by the Green Council and his mother, Alicent Hightower, while Rhaenyra is supported by the Black Council and her husband / uncle, Daemon Targaryen. And so both sides are seeking alliances from the great houses of Westeros and fighting for the support of their armies to claim the rightful positions to the Iron Throne. This season really ramped up the storytelling. And see, going back to last season was like a filler season, It felt like it was half done. I don't know if that was because of the writer's strike, the actor's strike that took place around that time of filming of that season. I don't know if that affected it, but it just didn't feel complete. It felt empty and not much action, not much to push the story along. You had some story beats, but it was more filler. It felt like a filler season as opposed to a filler episode that happened within the season. And now we get to this season and it just all hell broke loose. Everything was put in its rightful order. It feels like they took their time flushing out characters, flushing out the story. We got two bookend episodes, the first episode and the last episode of two amazing battles on this show. And everything in between was so good, as far as especially the acting. And I gotta point out Emily Darcy, my God, as Rhaenyra, completely murdered it, bruh. I mean, wow, what a job. Because this season, if I could talk, this season is her arc. She went through a transformation throughout this season, and to see her descent into kind of this tyrant, whereas she started off with good intentions, and this goes all the way back to season 1. She started off with good intentions, but as that crown got heavier, what's that old saying? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, something to that effect. That you see this playing out week to week in season 3, especially when she finally got the Iron Throne. And episode 2 here of this season, when they brought her son to her after he perished in the first episode of the season, and her acting just in that episode should get her an Emmy. That was some of the greatest acting I've seen in a very long time. I felt her. I really felt the pain from her character. Boy, what an acting job. And to accent that, the young actor who was playing her son, who perished, he was actually on set. That wasn't a dummy. That wasn't a mannequin they were using. He was playing dead throughout that whole scene, and he did it. I mean, to stay in character of sorts throughout that whole scene was amazing. But I mean, she she was amazing. All the cast was amazing, as they always are. As many problems I had with season two, it never is the acting there. I think, like I was saying earlier, I think that season was kind of rushed. The acting was spot on perfect, but it was equally as perfect here in this season. And what makes season three probably my favorite of the game, no, not the Game of Thrones, but of the House of the Dragon run here is, when you really sit back and look at all these characters, there are no heroes. There is no protagonist on this show. Nobody is redeemable. There is not a redeemable character on this show. You would thought it was Rhaenyra, and for a long time it was. I was Team Black, all through and through. But as we got further and further along, you start seeing her descent. She had, even at the end of this season, she isn't fully there, but you see she's getting there. I mean, with her declaring herself the prince that was promised at the end of this season, in that grandiose speech that she was giving to her people, she's really descending into madness. That she is the prince that is promised. Now, those of us who know, those of us who watch Game of Thrones know that no, she isn't. That's actually Jon Snow. But watching her descent into madness, believing that the prophecy is about her, is a joy to watch. Another character that I enjoyed, if I had one knock, one big knock, because I have some, little nitpicks throughout the season, but if I had a big knock to really complain about, it would be that we didn't get enough of Rhaenyra. I think that's her name, Rhaenyra, the one who was on Sheep Stealer, who caused all that ruckus in the first episode, ended up causing the death of Jace and all this here, and went into hiding. I wanted to see more of her character. She and the actress who plays her, I think Phoebe Campbell, I think that's the actress. Unbelievable. It's just amazing. Her character, she went through the ringer in this season, and she wasn't in it for what meant 3-4 episodes, maybe three episodes this season. But when she did pop up, it was impactful. She took full advantage of her screen time when she was on screen. Another character that was on screen and I deeply enjoyed, and the actor took full advantage of his screen time, would have to be James Norton as Ormond Hightower. This season's, I guess you could say, big bad. This season's villain, even though everybody's a villain on this show. But I loved his character. The entitled, pompous, just every aggravating trope of somebody you don't like, he was it. He was the manifestation of that. And I loved it. He was the closest thing to oh my god, I just had his name in my head and it leaped out. The character in Game of Thrones, one of the bastards, the one who was just, I mean, probably one of the best villains on television history, and I can't think of his name. His name is completely escaping me. Ramses. That's who Ramses. He's not Ramsey, but he's close to Ramsey. He has that attitude. That's who he reminded me of when when he first popped up. But anyways, loved his character. The only knock I have is they killed him off. I was hoping, I was hoping to get more. I was hoping to get more out of him. But it was cool the way he went out. I loved how he went out. With one of the graybeards just pretty much violating him with a knife, and then and then to put the cherry on the Sunday, being burnt alive by a dragon. That was gangster. But I would have loved to have seen more from his character. This was a 8 episode season that it was the perfect 8 episodes. You get what I'm saying? It didn't have to go 10, and cutting it down to 6 would have been too short. 8 was perfect. It gave us enough time to deal with the story. It flushed out character motivations, character arcs. Even throughout this season, we got tons of action. We had about 4 or 5 different storylines that were going on concurrently, yet they're all linked up together. They're all linked up to the throne, of course. And so you have all that going on. And one thing that happens on the other side of Westeros affects King's Landing. And we hear about it, you get word about it. And now they have to strategize to kind of shift things around how we're going to react to it or counteract to it or whatever the case may be. And all this was going on. And it didn't have to be in one location. And that's a testament to the writing. And this was definitely a vast improvement from last season. I deeply enjoyed House of the Dragon season 3. Now going forward, there's a lot of question marks. I like how we ended off with more questions. This is a cliffhanger. This is old school television here. Leaving off with a cliffhanger. What's next? When the episode went off, immediately my first thing was, okay, what's next? I didn't read the books. I know nothing about these characters and what they're going, how they turn out in the books and whatnot. So I'm going into it blind, exactly the way I want to go into this blind. And so what's next for Rhaenyra? Now that she's kind of vanquished her enemies, yet we got word that Aemon is alive. Not only is he alive, but his dragon is alive too. This caused a lot of ruckus with her. Now she's kind of worried. Well, not kind of, because he's still the king. He's not dead. And so that causes a problem. Aemon finding Aemon, it not killing him. Now he has an alliance here. Yet Vhagar is gone. His dragon has left him. So now what? They're going to find the dragon. So we got that going on. Plus that witch that was at the castle, and she has ulterior motives. And Aegon showing up throws a monkey wrench in her plan. So now what does she do? How does she get involved in this? Daemon witnessing all that took place at that final battle in Thermalton. And what's next for him? What's next for the Hammer? Who went and got a dragon, who enlisted his services for his family, for his wife, only for his wife to kind of turn his back on him. Now she's dead. She died at the end, and so what's going to be his motivation going forward? The other one, the drunken one, I can't remember his name. What's his thing now? Now that he's been shamed, he was beaten up, in public. So is he going to exact revenge on Daemon and Rhaenyra? And now that he has a dragon, so that could be a problem. Let's not forget. Now, I don't know, like I said, don't know about the books, but I know about Game of Thrones. We do know, there's no spoiler, all of these dragons are going to die, because there are no dragons once we get to Game of Thrones. Now, granted, they're hundreds of years apart from each other chronologically, but the dragons are dead. And so what's going to cause this to to take place. We still haven't got to that point yet. And man, this is going to be exciting, man. I'm excited for season 4. Whereas I wasn't too hyped up for season 3 coming off of season 2. And now I am excited for season 4 coming off of this season. And so we're back in the fold. Yeah, I feel like this show has gotten its footing back. We've gotten the Dance of the Dragons, the battles, the fights, the fight for the throne that we were promised going into this show. And man, the acting has been amazing. The writing has improved this season. Top notch. Great job by HBO reviving this series because it was looking dire. it was looking like the end of the Game of Thrones run. We didn't want that. We did not want a repeat of that series. But I deeply enjoyed House of the Dragon season 3. That's why I'm gonna give it a letter grade of a B+. Yeah, I thought this was a really good season. I hope they hurry up with the 4th. That don't take 10 years to give us a 4th season. I hope they're filming now so we can get this late next year or at early 2028 at the latest. I want my House of the Dragon. I want to know, what are your thoughts on House of the Dragon season 3? Did you enjoy this season? Are you excited for a season 4? Or have you checked out? Did you not like it? Or you watched the first season and said, nah. Or the second season and said, nah. I was talking to my cousin about it, and because we're big Game of Thrones guys, and we got into House of the Dragon. We liked season 1, season 2, not so much, and he kind of didn't get into season 3. And midway through it, he asked me, like, "Man, you watching season 3?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really enjoying it." And so he was like, "Oh man, I got to get caught up there." So hopefully he got caught up, but I really enjoyed this. I want to know your thoughts. You can holler at me on our website, thekbradionetwork.com, where you can subscribe to the channel and be notified of episodes that drop and previous episodes that we did in the past. Don't forget about YouTube as well. You can subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video while you're there. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of House of the Dragon Season 3. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.